So today we're going to be talking about data collection and processing tools. First, I'm going to do a little introduction. My name is Roy Bakfine. I'm a member of team BUMBLEB 3339 from Kfar Israel. I'm 6 years in the FRC program, 3 years in the FRC program, and I'm the head of the scouting team. So now that you know who I am, we're going to start. So first of all, we're going to talk about the motivation for using tools. So collecting, processing, and analyzing data requires tools. The goal of this lecture is to help teams choose tools for their scouting systems. Our focus today is on common tools in the FRC community. So we're going to start with about talking the basis of a scouting system. Every system consists of 3 main stages. The first stage is collection. First, we need to collect raw data on teams that we want to use. The second stage is processing, which is the conversion of the raw data and applying various statistics to analyze the data. The first stage is analyzing, which is inferring relevant insights from the process data. So now we're going to about all the tools that we know and we have experience in them that use to collect data. So the first one is pen and paper, which is the most basic method in the FRC. So the cons of this tool is that it is a very simple solution. It doesn't require a lot of manpower or knowledge. It is very intuitive for most people. We are all students. So we write on paper pretty much each day. So it's very, very intuitive. And it's also very reliable because we don't need any computer service. So we won't have any technical issue. But the cons of this tool is that it requires manual data entry from the papers to a computerized system. So if we have a system, if we have a computerized system, we collect data manually with pen and paper. We need to manually enter the data into the computerized system, which can take a lot of time. And in competitions, it's not very good because we don't have a lot of time. Also, it's hard to keep track of all the papers because we have a lot of matches, a lot of teams, especially in bigger competitions. So it's very hard to keep track of all the papers. And also, it makes it difficult to analyze data during a competition because we have a lot of data and we need to manually enter it. So it can take a lot of time, and in competitions, we don't have this time. So we can't really analyze data during a competition. It will be very, very hard to do this effectively with pen and paper. So to sum up, pen and paper is a very basic method with low demand from the team. Although it requires a lot of work with pages, it requires you to translate them and arrange them so it won't be messy and you will know how to work with them. The next tool we're going to be talking about is the Google Forms, which is the computerized version of pen and paper. Google Forms is a very basic and simple to use tool, but doesn't require much knowledge. It enables to create very, very basic forms very easily. We don't need a lot of knowledge in order to do this. The forms are also submitted directly to Google Sheets, which can be very helpful for the next stage, which is processing the data. And it's also very easy to share the scouting form with Google Forms. It's just a link, very, very simple. The cons of this tool is that it is very difficult to edit submitted forms. So if you have a specific form that you want to edit, you need to look it up, and it's very, very hard to find it and to edit a specific field that you want to edit. And also, the biggest con of it is that it works only online. So internet connection is required, which can be a big problem, especially in competitions, because in competitions, it's not always available. So it can be very difficult because it needs that internet connection. Sum up, a method that, like pen and paper, It's very easy to use and does not require much knowledge. It utilizes computer services to accelerate the scouting process while maintaining its simplicity. It's much effective than pen and paper, and also very easy to use. It doesn't require much knowledge, but the biggest flaw of it is the internet connection, and it's hard to edit. So how do we begin using Google Forms? We can create a basic form in the website of Google Forms or via Google Drive. And we have here a link that explains how to transfer the forms into a Google Sheets. The first tool we're going to be talking about is Google AppSheet, which is an app that allows us to create a scouting app in the most basic way. The concept of this tool is that it has many field types useful for scouting forms. It is also possible to work offline, which is a very big upside. Also, it allows you to connect to many different databases, which can give you a lot of versatility. Also, your final app can be used on any platform, so Android, iOS. So it's very, very convenient for the scouters. And also, it has a convenient editing interface on Google's website. It's very, very easy to edit forms and also create, very intuitive. But the cons of this tool is that it requires a monthly fee in order to obtain a license. It's not a huge fee. It's kind of cheap, but it's still a fee that you need to pay. Also, the forms are arranged as a list of fields, which sometimes can be less convenient. And as we have experienced in the past, minimal loss of forms. We don't know exactly why, but we do know that it happened, and it wasn't really fun. It was kind of difficult. So it's a big con of it. To sum up, a tool that allows very easy creation of an advanced application for filling out forms, but it costs money and it's not fully adapted for scouting. It's a very generic app. It can be used to create all sorts of app, but it's not fully adapted for scouting specifically. So how do you begin with Google AppSheet? You can create a basic application of the site of AppSheet. And also you have AppSheet YouTube channel, which includes a lot of useful tutorials on how to create your app and all kinds of how to do things with AppSheet. Very, very intuitive and helpful. So the next tool is Robot Scouter, an application that allows creating and filling out specifically scouting forms. It was specifically built for the FRC. So here we have pictures of how it looks like, how to create a form, and how to fill out the form. It's very, very useful. So the pros of this tool is that it allows convenient creation of templates for forms. You can easily create, edit, and review forms. It's very, very convenient. It also allows speed scouting for the teams that want to use it. So they have a feature of speed scouting forms. It's very, very nice. Also, they have a very convenient interface that's especially adapted for scouting in the FRC. Also, there is no need in knowledge in software. Although it is an app, you don't need any knowledge in software, which is really, really good. And also, it allows you to work offline, so you won't have problems with internet in competitions. The cons of this app is that it is only available for Android. So if your scouters have iOS, you won't be able to install the app on iOS. It's only available for Android, which can be a bit of a hassle. Also, it exports an Excel sheet, not a file, to each team, which can be less convenient. Also, synchronizing patterns between scouters is less convenient. And it is very, very difficult to synchronize forms with all the scouters because it requires you to log in with a shared account, like a Google account, and on all the devices. So it's kind of difficult to synchronize. It's not very convenient. So for conclusion, Robot Scouter is an application that is specially built for FRC and accordingly significantly more convenient than other solutions in terms of interface, usage, and filling out the forms. With its advantages, managing the app is more difficult compared to other solutions in terms of platform and forms. How do you begin with Robot Scouter? Their app can be downloaded in Google Play. They also have a GitHub page with the source code for the app. So it's very, very easy to start with. The next solution we're going to be talking about is building a custom app yourself, which is maximum effort for maximum fit. So creating a custom app yourself has a lot of advantages. The first, you can create your own custom interface. So you can create an interface that is specially built for your scouters and especially for them. So it can be very convenient for your scouters. Also, you have full control over the app behavior. You decide how you want it to act in every single way. Also, it is easier to connect to a database. You can choose any database you want. Also, it has the possibility to expand and add features according to the needs of the team. Also, it has many advanced platforms to choose from, which allows you to be very versatile with what you choose, and it's very, very helpful. Also, you get to learn a valuable programming skill, which is building an app. The cons of this tool is that it requires a lot from your team. It requires knowledge, training, documentation, which can be kind of hard, especially in the beginning. Also, it is more difficult to maintain in the build season. It's under the responsibility of the team. It has greater preparation time each season compared to the last tools. At least in the first season, when you first build the skeleton for the app. So it has a greater preparation time than the other tools. And also, it is significantly more difficult in the beginning because you have to learn how to do all the things and how exactly you want to build your app. So in the beginning, it's a lot more difficult, but as the time goes on, you develop your app and it becomes much easier and much more fitted for your team. So to sum up, it has a lot of significant benefits. Over time, you can build a strong infrastructure tailored to the specific needs of your team. The most significant disadvantage of the solution is the high level of maintenance and knowledge it requires. Excuse me. Where to begin with building your app yourself? First, you'll need to perform an in-depth research on different infrastructure to find the most suitable for you. You can start here. We have here a list of existing infrastructures. We have Swift, Vue.js, React, Android Studio, Angular, a lot of infrastructures. Very useful, very helpful. It has a lot of features that allows you to build your app easily. So you don't have to do everything yourself. Also, we have here a list of databases which you can use to store your data. We have Google Sheets, Firebase, and Amazon AWS. The next tool I'm going to talk about is a web infrastructure by Miska, which is a hybrid combination between Robot Scouter and developing an app by yourself. So the cons, the pros of this solution is it allows generic construction of a form page. So you can use it each year and create a form based on the year you need it for. Also, it's PWA based, which means it's available on all platforms, so Android, iOS. So it's very versatile and it's very convenient for your scouters. Also, it allows you to work offline, which is a very big pro. Also, it includes games for scouters, Snake, Shoots and Ladders, and more. That's just a fun feature for when your scouters are waiting between games. Just a fun one. And the cons of this is that it requires basic knowledge of web programming and software in general. And also you have less control over the behavior of the app because although it's code and you can control it, it's still an infrastructure that the MISCAR built. So you have less control, and it's also more difficult to make extensions and add features to it because it's what they wrote and you can add on to it, but it's kind of difficult because you need to know exactly how they built it and be real familiar with their code. So you have less control comparing to building yourself. So to sum up, this solution takes the flexibility of Robot Scouter, which allows you for a more convenient connection to the database, in addition to higher control. But although this solution requires more knowledge, because you need to learn programming, especially web programming, so it's more knowledge than Robot Scouter, but it's also more flexible and more convenient. So how to start with MISCAR's web infrastructure? They have a post in Chief Delphi, which has all the information about their app. And also they have a GitHub page with the source code for the app, which you can use. It's very, very useful. It's very, very easy to use and helpful. So now we're going to move on to the data processing tools after we finish talking about all the data collection tools. So the first tool to process data is Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets. They are very, very similar. So this is the starting point for data analysis. So the pros of using these tools is it has high data processing capabilities. You can produce a lot of different types of statistics. It's very, very easy to do this. It has a very basic method for data analysis. It binds the database and the analysis or processing of the data in one place. So it's very, very convenient because it's all organized in one place. And it connects to many data collection tools. So you can have versatility in choosing your data collection tool, and you can use Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel for pretty much every data collection tool, which is very, very good. But the cons of these tools is that its graphic analysis requires a lot of work and knowledge. It has less dynamic tools for real-time analysis. Because it's just not built for strong data analysis, it can get very, very messy in big data analysis. In small data, it's fine. It's very good, but when you have big data, it can get very messy. It becomes more difficult to work with. So it works well with small data, and big data it's kind of difficult to work with. So to sum up, the strength of Sheets or Excel is how basic and convenient they are. In addition to their data processing capabilities, on the other hand, it is less suitable for dynamic and graph-rich projects. It focuses more on the processing than visualization. So how to begin with Sheets or Excel? You can follow the basic training of Google Sheets or the basic training of Microsoft Excel. It's very, very easy to use. It walks you through all the main things you should know, and it's very, very helpful. The next tool we're going to talk about is Microsoft Access, which is a powerful database. So the pros of Microsoft Access is that it organizes all your data in convenient tables, and it cross-references data between tables according to linking fields, which allows a lot of possibilities. Also, you can generate strong queries graphically or using SQL. Also, it generates data reports automatically, which can be very useful and helpful. But the cons of this tool is that it has a weaker graphical infrastructure compared to other tools. And in order to realize its full potential, you need to know SQL. The queries are stronger using SQL than graphically. Also, it's not possible to collect data directly from the scours. You need some mediator tool like Sheets or Excel, because it only connects to Sheets or Excel. You can collect it directly to access. And also, it requires an Office license, which can be hard to get. It's just a con you need to be considered. So to sum up, Access main strength is in advanced data analysis capabilities. However, it requires more knowledge to realize its full potential. How to start with the tool? Microsoft have a tutorial on how to use the tool from start till end. All the things you should know, all the basic things you should know about Access and how to use it. The last tool we're going to be talking about is Tableau, which allows for powerful, dynamic, and clear graphic analysis in seconds. So Tableau has a lot of cons, a lot of pros, sorry. It has a very strong graphical infrastructure, which allows a very clear visual comparison between teams. Also, it is a very dynamic tool. Creating new analysis takes seconds. There are many useful charts analyses for various cases, so it's very, very useful. It has a feature that enables you to create useful dashboards for grouping graphs together in one place. So you can look at all the graphs you want in one place. It's very useful, very convenient for analyzing. And also, it allows you to create calculated fields for database, for database expansion with the calculated fields. It also has a lot of other features which are very, very interesting and can be very helpful. But the cons of this powerful tool is that it requires a lot of knowledge and experience in order to realize its full potential. But also, its data processing capabilities are less powerful than other tools. It focuses more on data visualization and then to process the data. It's just less strong. And also, it requires a license. First, do provide a license per season, only one. So you can get a license every season, but if you want more than one license, you will have to buy it. So to sum up, Tableau is a powerful and useful tool known for its highly advanced and dynamic data visualization capabilities. But on the other hand, it requires knowledge and experience in order to use it effectively, and the data processing in it is weaker. So how do you start with Tableau? Information and videos can be found in Tableau's website. They have a lot of videos and very important information about all the basic things and even advanced features. All of this is in their website. And also, if you want to experiment and want to know if you want to use this tool, experiment with, know what it can do, they have a free tool, which is called Tableau Public. So you don't need to purchase a license in order to play with it. They have a free tool. It have most of the things that they have in the tool with the license. So you can experiment and know if you want to use this tool or not. And if you really want to use this tool, so you can buy the license or get it from first in the season. So this was the presentation. Thank you very much for listening. Just a message that they told me. If you want to get the links in the presentation, you can send the organizer of the conference a message on Instagram, and we can hand over you to the presentation with all the links and all the useful information.
Thank you very much, Roy. It's been a wonderful presentation, and well, if you're ready, we can go on for some questions that the audience has sent us. The first question comes from Itamar Hassan, who says, Roy, you can tell them at the end Oh, so it was for you. Sorry, that wasn't a question. Yeah. So, well, everyone. So Roy is up for questions. The Q&A option is enabled, and feel free to send them. In the meantime, Roy, while we wait for more questions to get into the Q&A section, what are the plans for your team in this new season that is upcoming in 2022?
The tools we use. Okay, so for collecting the data, we create an app ourselves. We created the app 2 years ago. We still use it and improve it. And that's for data collection. We use Vue.js for creating an app. We have Firebase as a database which we use to store the data. For processing the data, we use Google Sheets. All the data processing is done there. And then in order to analyze the data, we use Tableau. We connect our Tableau to the Google Sheets that we have. And through Tableau, we do all kinds of analysis. It's very, very useful. Tableau is a very, very strong tool. It has a lot of features that really help us to find which team we want to pick. It has a lot of strong visual analysis. It's very, very simple, very dynamic, and very, very powerful. So we use it, I think 5 or 6. We use it 4 years, I think. It really helps us, and we don't know everything about it, but each year we found out another feature that we use, and it's very, very helpful. We can also expand every year, so we're advancing our analysis capabilities.
Awesome, thank you, Roy. And we do have some questions now. So the first question would be, what do you think are the best questions to do during a peat scouting?
We in our team don't really do peat scouting. We just don't really have the manpower to do it. I think it's very, very useful. Questions I think that are useful in peat scouting are questions that you can't infer from getting the raw data from the scourers. So questions about the robot, the systems of the robot, special notes about how they collect different field elements, how they shoot it. Just things we want to know: if it's stable, if it's a reliable robot, if it's built strongly, if it doesn't break easily. All the things that we should know about the robot: if it's built, good systems are reliable. All the things we should know, all the things we don't get from just getting how much balls we shot or how much points they did.
Okay, thank you for your answer. And our next question is related to this. I think one of the things that most teams are worried after the qualification matches is whether they are not going to be chosen by one of the top seeded teams to be part of their alliances. So what do you think could be some specific things? And this is a question. What do you think are the specific things or capabilities that make a top seeded team to discard the robot from another team to be part of their alliance?
So as a team that chooses other teams to be with you, you don't always pick the strongest team after you. You need to pick the team that's most suitable for you. So if you have, for example, in this year, you can a very good combination is a robot that does a full court cycles and a robot that does short cycles. So you won't interfere each other. So if you want to be picked by a alliance, you need to find out which team you are most compatible with. You can make the great team, great alliance, and you can reach out to them. And if you have a great scouting system, you can show them your data that you found on your team, and show them why you think you are good enough, and why you think that they should pick especially you. You can show them the data in your system, which shows why you are the most compatible with them, and they should choose you over other teams.
Okay, so that's really useful, for example, to rookie teams. And our next question, by the way, comes from a rookie team, and they ask, we are a rookie team. Should we be worried about doing scouting, or should we wait until next year? How can we start?
So my recommendation is it really depends on the size of your team. If your team is not very large and you don't have a lot of manpower, maybe you should do it next year, not this year. But if you do have the resources, because it requires a lot of manpower to build the robot and the program and the hardware, all the things. But if you do have the manpower and you have the time and the people to do it, I strongly recommend doing scouting because it is very, very useful. A good robot might win you games, but strategy and scouting can win you competitions. With good strategy, you can win not only games but competitions. We have seen a very great improvement in our performance in competitions after we started doing scouting. We didn't always do scouting. We do scouting for about 6 years. I think since 2015, but the team started at 2010, so we have 5 years without scouting, and we've seen that the scouting really helps us win competitions and games. It's very, very useful. So if you do have the manpower and the resources to do it, I really recommend. You don't need to develop an app yourself or doing all this crazy visualization. You can start very, very simple. We also started very simple. Pretty much all the tools that in the presentation we use at some point, we have experience with it. So we started with something very basic, like Google Forms, and worked our way up as we developed as a team and we got more resources and more manpower. So it really, really depends on your resources. But if you do have, it's a very good thing to have. It's very, very useful. Can guarantee that it can win you games and even competitions.
Got it. Thank you, Roy. And, next question. Does your team create a scouting before attending to the regional? And I would add and even change the question to how in advance your team prepares scouting for regional. Is it a week, a month, more than that, less?
So what we have, we're talking about in the build season. So we have our app, which we use to collect data. So we have a skeleton, which we use every year, which is a generic code with the only things that we change is the form that the questions we want to ask and the information we want to get. So this doesn't take a lot of time, but we do start it as early as we can, so we can finish it and do other things. So we don't have to maintain this in the build season because you don't have a lot of time and you have a lot to do. So we're trying to do this as fast as possible so we can be doing other things. Our analysis and processing, we also start as soon as we can after we analyze the strategy for the game. We start asking which data we want to collect, how we want to collect it, how we want to present it. And when we build our processing and analyzing, we finish it about 2 weeks before the competition. and because we want to test our system to make sure everything works, to make sure we don't have any errors or something that could go wrong. So in the competition, we can make full use of our system, and we won't have any errors or things that might go wrong. But we do have a lot of manpower, a lot of resources. We have a strong knowledge here, which is built over years. So everything is very, very fast. It really depends on your team and what you need to use. But you just need to make sure that your system is fully ready for the competition, because in the competition you won't have a lot of time to fix things. You need to focus on the strategy. So I recommend doing this as fast as possible, so we can so you can be available for doing other things in your other teams, and you won't have any technical issues in the competition.
Okay, thank you very much. And well, we got more questions. And someone asks, is it okay to switch or rotate scouters during the competition, or is it better to just have a few group of people doing the whole scouting?
So what we do is we do have shifts. Personally, I think that it's not very effective to have specific persons who do it all the time, because it's a lot of hours and it can get very, very difficult. When you do a lot of matches, you kind of lose focus, and your data might become less reliable, because your scouters will probably make more mistakes, will be less concentrated. So what we do, we have shifts. We do have specific people that are scouters, but we switch between them. We have shifts that we switch between. So it will be more effective. We can give the scouters free time. So we won't be the same people all over every match. It's more effective. It's more fun for the scouters. It allows them to do more things in the competitions, and also it's more fun, more effective. It's overall, in my opinion, better, but just having specific people do it all the time.
Okay, so the next question says, our team usually, after each day of regional events, gathers and watches the replays of the matches to get more information for the following day. What do you think about this method, and does it work, or have you used it in your team?
All right. So for what I know, we use it in special cases. We don't always use it. Usually, what we do is we open out our system and we analyze the data that we see from our system, and by what we see, we decide the rankings of the team, which ones we want to pick, which one we don't really want to pick. We analyze all the teams, and if you don't know how to place two teams, if you don't know which one of them is better, sometimes we go more into depth in our system, or sometimes in really, really special cases, we can go to a specific video to see how they act, to see the robot, to see a specific strategy they use. But we don't usually look at videos. I think it can be effective, but less than going over your system and seeing the raw data, to see the data that you use, the process data, and to analyze it. It's much easier to analyze the data from what you collected than to watch videos and analyze on them. It can be used if you want to see specific things, but if you do it for every single team, it can take a lot of time, and you don't have a lot of time between the first day to the second day. And it's also less effective. You don't really see the numbers. It's I think it only should be used if you want to see specific things or strategies, but not for a full analyze.
Okay, thank you, Roy. And our last question says, do you have a strategy discussions, or you discuss the strategy before each match with the scouters, or does it rely completely on the drivers?
So what we do, we have the scouters that collect the data, and it's automatically entered into our system. And we have someone that's in charge of looking at the system in the competition and analyzing it mid-through. And this guy, he's the one, he sits with the driving team between every match and goes with them over the important things that you know about the match, about the teams that they are playing with, about the game, about the teams that they are playing against. And he tells them everything they need to know, everything important about the teams on their lines and the other lines. And then the driver team with the coach, they establish a strategy before the game with their lines. And also it can change mid the game. But we do have before every match, this guy sits with the driving team and tells them things they should know, important strategies, and what they can use in order to beat this game. We didn't always do this, but we saw that once we started doing it, it improved our competitions. We won more games, more competitions. It really helps before every game to know which teams you're facing against and what the teams on your side will do, so you can find the best strategy to win the game. So I highly recommend doing it. Yeah.
Awesome, Roy. Thank you very much for your kind answers. And well, I think there's nothing left more than maybe a few words you have for all the rookie teams that are watching the show today. What's your advice for this new season regarding scouting, but in general from your perspective as an FRC member?
So for rookie teams, I really suggest that you first look at what resources you have, manpower, computers, all the things you have, and try to find out the best things that you can do. Don't try to do all the things at once. It can be very, very difficult, especially for a team that starts with a rookie. So I think you should focus on the very important things of building the robot, programming it, all the things that it's a must, and all the things that helps. If you can't, so don't do it. Don't overwhelm yourself. The build season is very, very, very difficult, very, very stressful. So if you don't have the resources, and it will be very, very hard. So if you don't have a requirement to not do it, you can do it the next year and develop it by years. You can't do everything at once. It's very hard from the start to do all of the things. It should be agile. You should develop it over the years. If you do have the resources and you do have it, I do recommend to do scouting in particular and all the things that you want to do. But you do need to consider what you can do in a realistic way. And you need to, even though you want to do everything, you need to do it in the most simple way and not too complicated, so we won't have any problems or things you will run into during the season, because you don't want to have issues that you don't know of before. So if you don't have a lot of resources, I recommend to do it agile. But if you do, strongly recommend.
Thank you, Roy. And I'm sure all the rookie teams that are connected today would thank you too. It's been an honor to have you with us. I would say good day, but I don't know what time it is and where you are. I think it's already night, right?
Yeah, it's night. It's 9 o'clock in the evening.
Okay, so well, thank you very much for staying kind of late on a Saturday night for us. We appreciate that, and for all Bumblebee 3339 team, thank you very much. This was our scouting presentation, and well, hopefully most of the things you said would be helpful for some of the teams that are looking to improve their scouting skills. So Roy, thank you very much, and thank you for being in warm-up.
Thank you. I was very honored to do this presentation. Very, very glad to help all the teams that need it. Very happy to do it.